everyone. My name is Caroline Patrick. I'm the project manager at BNP Engage, and I'll be filling in for Lauren today. With me today is actually Jennifer Greenjack. She is our director of marketing over at BNP Engage. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. So, a strategic marketing plan is really a comprehensive overview that outlines a company's marketing and advertising efforts for the future. Typically, it'll include things like a company overview, a SWOT analysis, competitor overview, understanding of the company's buyer persona or their target audience, the goals and objectives of both the company and the marketing team, as well as the tactics that they will use to achieve those goals. And then finally, it'll end with a roadmap and as well as an associated budget that they will need to help execute those tactics.
I know that strategic marketing plans also kind of differ from other types of marketing plans. So everything that you just described is akin to a lot of the same procedures that a lot of marketing plans actually follow. So how does that differ typically from a normal plan?
Yeah, a strategic marketing plan is usually broader and more long-term focused, like a year or more, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 years. And it really focuses on the company's overall marketing objectives and strategies to help achieve the longer term business goals for the entire business. Whereas, like a tactical or an operational marketing plan tends to be more specific, shorter term, more detailed, really focusing on the individual marketing activity or a campaign. Let's say, like an upcoming event that you have, or maybe it's a new product launch, and this supports the overall broader strategic marketing plan.
That's really awesome. So, what are the top three benefits of really implementing a strategic marketing plan for the long term then?
I would say if I have to limit it to three, number one, what I really think helps is it helps really keep the company and the team focused with a clear roadmap for business marketing efforts, and making sure that they align with the company's overarching goals or objectives. That ability to continually look back to a plan and make sure that what you are doing still resonates with the original plan, provided things haven't changed, of course. But if you're starting something new, you need to understand, how does this help our goals? How does this work with the plan that we originally started? Second, I would say it definitely ensures the resources, which are not just, most people think resources as far as like budget, but it is the money, obviously, but it's also the time and the people resources. It helps to ensure that those resources are allocated efficiently across the various marketing initiatives. This approach really helps to maximize that ROI, which we hear a lot about in our world. And then thirdly, I would say if I were to narrow down to the top three, I would say it acts as that guide for the decision making by providing that framework roadmap for evaluating new opportunities and challenges. So it helps identify and capitalize on things like a company's unique selling proposition or any competitive advantages it might have against its competition.
Along with maximizing an ROI for the long term for a business, how would you say a strategic marketing plan actually contributes to the overall success of a business in addition to that?
It aligns the marketing efforts with the business goals, because if the two are not aligned, then any marketing that you're doing that is not going to help the business achieve their goals is almost like, in a sense, wasted marketing, wasted budget, wasted resources. And it also helps to drive that decision making, which I also kind of mentioned before, but it helps to drive that decision making in what to move forward with, so that you always have a clear path and you're not just being reactive every single day to what's going on around you, but you can be a little bit more proactive in what you're going to be doing.
I would love for you to actually dive a little bit more into that specifically for how it actually aligns with business goals. So I would say, would you say that marketing objectives define those business goals more? Or I would love for you to kind of like diverse more or talk about that a little bit more.
Diving in a little bit deeper. So as far as strategic planning and making sure that it aligns with the broader business goals and objectives of the company, um, marketing objectives really also need to reflect those business goals. So whether it's expanding into like new markets or enhancing brand recognition or launching a new product or driving an innovation that's maybe new and exciting in the industry, that strategic marketing plan really needs to translate those overarching business goals into what we call as SMART results, ensuring that the marketing efforts are focused on achieving those outcomes those outcomes that really are going to matter to the business as a whole. So SMART, you're going to test SMART, measurable, I always forget A, realistic and timely. What's A? I want to say it's accurate, but I might be wrong on that. So good to go back to it. But you always want to look at those SMART goals. Also, it facilitates that cross-functional integration. So when I say cross-functional, it ensures that the marketing efforts are really coordinated with sales and the product development team and anybody in customer service and all those other departments that really rely on marketing to kind of start things off and keep things going. So the alignment across these teams and all the parts of the organization are again working towards those same goals.
That's really cool. Honestly, I feel like that would actually give businesses a competitive advantage over their competition in the long
Mhm.
term. Kind of actually going off of that, how can the strategic marketing plan provide a competitive advantage in a crowded market?
So when we do strategic marketing planning at BNP Engage, we really look at the competition as a whole. So in order to get that competitive advantage, we need to understand a few things, the market more deeply. We really it helps us target our marketing efforts more precisely. And again, it allows us to allocate our resources optimally. One way, for example, is incorporating digital channels effectively to engage with customers where they spend a significant amount of their time. So, be it SEO or social media or email marketing or content marketing or any of the other digital channels that are out there in digital strategies, businesses can really reach a larger audiences, both more cost effectively as well as engaging through that personalized content, which everybody nowadays is really demanding, craving, expecting, and to help build their presence around the brand. So it can all kind of go back to those three things, really understanding the market more deeply, targeting the audience and their efforts more precisely towards the audience, and being able to use those resources in an optimal fashion.
One of the things that I feel like a lot of companies also like to keep in mind is the new technology that's coming into the market, and specifically the way that the market changes over the long term,
Mhm.
specifically for what businesses could potentially do to adapt to rapid market changes or potentially unforeseen challenges as a result of those future challenges coming in. How would a strategic marketing plan actually help with that?
Yeah, strategic marketing planning are actually designed with what I like to call built-in flexibility. So when we do ours, we joke that we do like our roadmap in a Google Sheet, and it's done that way versus a PDF because we know things are going to change. We know we're going to have to move what was down as 10th in line to number 2 because of something that changes or a need, whether it be internal or an external force, but that flexibility really allows us to pivot as a company based on whatever the need is. So internal forces could be things including like maybe there's an acquisition, whether you're being acquired or whether your company is acquiring somebody else. It could be organizational changes. There could also be like budget reallocations throughout the year that you were not expecting, maybe due to sales going up or down. So there needs to be that ability to flex during the course of the year internally. And then externally, forces that could easily happen in the industry. Like you said, there could be technological changes. There could be government restrictions or requirements that come down that maybe weren't that probably were anticipated, but maybe not anticipated soon enough. Or there could even be something else in the, environment. And these are things that you really don't have any control over, but you need to react to. So not to bring up the lovely word COVID. However, think about like, I have to think about when we ended 2019 and we had plans going into 2020 and we had a full year's marketing plan built out for ourselves and a lot of our clients. And then March came around and March 20th came around and then April came around in 2020 and the 2 weeks was over and it didn't show any signs of stopping. We really had to pivot and pivot fast. And in some cases, things were good. We had strategies in place for like paid advertising. That didn't change. But there were a lot of strategies that were in place for people to go to trade shows. Changed, drastically. If that was like their number one lead source during the course of the year was to go to trade shows, now all of a sudden, what becomes that number one lead source? Because that no longer exists. Or it became virtual towards the end of the year. But even those we heard were a little lackluster because people weren't used to them. So you can see that there is that need to be flexible. We like to say when we do certain tactics or when certain other things come in from, whether leadership or they want to focus on something different and all of a sudden we're launching a new product line, we look at how does that fit within our existing plan. And if it works with our existing plan, great. If it doesn't work with our existing plan, we think two different things. Number one, do we change the existing plan, which might become a necessity? Or number two, do we take what's being given to us and we kind of push it by the wayside for the time being because it's not a priority. It's not an overwhelming factor. So you have to go through that process internally and really understand the severity of how you need to react.
Absolutely. And I feel like businesses also have a lot of different factors that tie into that. That can be anything from the industry that they're in to different goals that they have, and especially regards to KPIs, which actually leads me into my next question. What key performance indicators, or more commonly known as KPIs, do you consider essential for actually measuring the success of a strategic marketing plan?
All right, I get that a lot when we're creating it. And I'm going to answer the question as probably nobody wants to hear, but KPIs are going to vary. It's really going to be dependent on what the business goals are. So going back to the conversation when we talked about business goals in general, where we said, is it about expanding into new markets? Is it about enhancing brand recognition? Is it about a new product launch? Is it about driving innovation? What is that business goal? And then you take that business goal and dive deeper into it with tying a marketing goal to that business goal. So some things to consider could be conversion rates or lead acquisition or overall brand awareness, which I know can be tough to measure, but it could be done through like social media interactions or, just surveys, acknowledgement of how people can recognize your brand versus others. Lead engagement as a whole could be lead engagement on a website, could be lead engagement on, again, on social media. And there's a lot of other ways. I mean, it could be measured by sales. Now, the one thing you need to be careful of and cognizant of is this is a marketing plan. It is not a sales plan. You need to understand how your marketing plan can help affect a sales plan. So that's why going back to it, it's all about having that effort of aligning with other teams and making sure that everybody's working towards the same goals.
Exactly. And that's I think honestly, one of the best benefits of strategic marketing plans for the long term is that it can help align your company towards your long-term goals, towards your long-term values, and make sure that you're achieving those in the long run. One of the things that I want to also kind of touch on was, like you said, it really does depend on your industry, it depends on your business, and it depends on your long-term goals. But when implementing strategic marketing plans, what would you say, what are some of the common challenges for actually implementing that across the board? One thing that probably comes to mind, obviously, is making sure that communication is clear across all channels. But what are some other ones that you can think of off the top of your head?
Yeah, communication is probably one of the main challenges, is really ensuring that the marketing plan is fully aligned with the overarching goals of the business. So if there is a disconnect in what the marketing team knows, or if the marketing team is not fully aware of the broader business objectives, or these objectives are not clearly communicated, your marketing goals and objectives then are not aligning with where the company wants to go. So it can really be avoided by just making sure you're regularly communicating and aligning with senior management, with sales teams, with customer service teams, and ensure that the marketing plan is going to support the broader business objectives across everybody. Another challenge is accurately identifying and understanding the target market. So if you're not sure who your target market is, and without those buyer insights, the business may struggle to create targeted strategies that are going to resonate with that audience. Especially, let's say, if you're launching a new product and it has a new audience. You might be relying on what you know from previous launches or previous products. But if this is a new audience, even if it's a subsegment, you need to make sure you understand that audience, and that you're avoiding it by investing in the market research necessary to understand those in-depth insights for things like their needs, their preferences, their behaviors, their pain points, all those things that you hear, but you need to understand the why should somebody care about this. And a third challenge, which I'll just keep it for threes for now, like we did before, is securing that buy-in for your plan, especially when it regards around budget needs and maybe even other resources like people needs from all levels of the organization. So again, that goes into leadership, any cross-functional teams, sales, customer service. Successful implementation of a strategic marketing plan really requires collaboration and support completely across the organization. Something like this could be avoided just by engaging stakeholders across the organization, again, sales, customer service, leadership, early in the planning process, and encouraging that collaboration between marketing and other departments. And then throughout the process of the strategic marketing plan and execution of the plan, continuing to check in with those teams to see how things are going, almost like get like a grade of what's working, what's not working, how to do it, how can we make it better, and then tweaking that plan as you go along, because you're going to learn, internally again, how things are working.
Especially for new businesses that haven't had a strategic marketing plan in the past, having that aspect be a part of it, specifically with tweaking it as it goes along, is also important. Plans change, companies change.
Yep.
Plans change all the time. It's important to understand that plans like this can be flexible in the long term, but you can still have the same goals be at the end, though the process may change as time goes on. And project managers like me can also help with that, as well as other team members, department heads, so on and so forth. It depends on who you have on your team, depends on what you want for your company in the long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my next question for you is kind of for first-time businesses that are actually going to be implementing a strategic marketing plan, or who are considering doing one. What advice would you actually give them for developing that?
Yeah, whether it's a first-time new business or whether it's an existing business that maybe has, going back to our earlier conversation, been more reactionary than being proactive and determining what they're going to do for the upcoming months, years, etc. I would say, first of all, always start with a clear understanding of the goals, both your goals as a team and more importantly, the goals of the company, whether it's brand awareness, customer acquisition, whatever it might be. So could be both, probably is. So, have a clear understanding of what those goals are, and if they can be measurable, even better. Also, be realistic about what you can achieve with your available resources. Keeping in mind, resources is not just money, it's time and it's people. So you don't want to stretch anything too thin. You never want to stretch your budget. We all know that. However, you also don't want to stretch, people's time and really overwork too many people, because then that could lead to unhappiness, turnover, etc. So be realistic, but you can still be a little bit aspirational. Know your target audience. I think I beat that one already. Inside and out. Triggers, fears, needs, challenges. Where do they go for information? How can you reach them? So forth. It goes on and on and on. So know your audience. Understanding the competitive landscape is also really important. Who are they? Their strengths, their weaknesses, how can you capitalize them with your own unique selling propositions? Um, where are there opportunities to grow for you, and where might there be an opportunity to fill a hole or a void within the market that you're all trying to attract and service. Um, Also, with the competitive landscape, keep in mind that your competitors are not just who you think your competitors are. There's also what we like to call organic competitors, which are those competitors that are served up by search engines when somebody searches. So you might not think somebody's a true competitor, but if you're searching for something, they may come up and they then become a competitor that you didn't even know you had. So it's often quite a important exercise to get on Google or get on Bing, whatever search engine, and start typing in some search terms that you want to be seen for, that you want to be known for, and see who else pops up, because that's your competition as well. And then continuing with the steps after understanding competitive landscape, I would definitely prioritize digital marketing. As I mentioned before, this can be, number one, very cost effective, but it's also really easy to measure. So you're able to track some ROI, especially if you're using a CRM like HubSpot or something of the sort. And then speaking of measuring, measure everything. Literally, if you can measure it, measure it. Even if it's, gosh forbid, like a billboard, make sure you have a special thing on there so that you're able to measure how effective something like that is. When people get the phone call that's like, hi, I want to find out about XYZ. That's great. How did you hear about us? Measure it all, but establishing clear KPIs and using those analytics to track performance is really going to help you understand what's working and what's not working, and then regularly review them and look at those metrics. Again, if it's not working, either think about what do you need to do to fix it or address it, or is it something that's just not going to work for you, but you felt like it was important to try it out, and it turned out that it was not the best route to go on. So sometimes it's best just to drop it and move forward.
Incredible. Thank you so much for all of that. It's really, honestly, really useful information. I
Mhm.
would really actually be interested to know what are some tools and some resources that first-time business owners can actually utilize, or just team members of can utilize.
Yeah, no, there's, I can't even tell you how many books and webinars and podcasts. Everybody's got their own special ones that they like. But there's a lot of resources out there. And honestly, sometimes just, going to some of your traditional podcasts that you like to listen to and typing in strategic marketing, I'm sure there's something on it. If there's other, I have special authors that I like, but I really don't like to push, promote anybody necessarily, because I don't want to sway person one way or another. But use what you feel is going to be your best way of learning. Some people like to read, some people like to listen, some people like to watch. Find that tool and the way that you prefer to learn, and do it that way. We offer, particularly through BNP Engage, we have a guide that talks about how to create a strategic marketing plan. We even offer a template that can be cloned and used as kind of like that starting point for creating your own strategic marketing plan, and really understanding all the steps that you need to go through. But again, if marketing isn't your strength, whether you're a new startup company and you're more focused on the product development, but you've never really had anything in marketing, or if you are a marketing team that has a lot of marketing in general as far as being a strength, but time as a resource is what's keeping you from moving forward as far as developing a strategic marketing plan, you could consider hiring a marketing agency like us, or working with a consultant to really understand, how you can move yourself forward. And sometimes getting that outside view, we like to say outside the box, because you've been inside the box so long that sometimes you forget to look outside of it. We can really bring our expertise and resources that will significantly improve your chances of success.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today and for discussing this with me. I feel like I learned a lot, honestly, as a project manager, but also for all businesses going forward.